Hello. Today's episode is about creative guilt. This is for you if you're a busy parent or caregiver and you have a creative dream inside you, but you're feeling guilty about it. You're feeling guilty about giving it your attention and your efforts, and that's stopping you from making it happen. This episode is part of my series on creativity for caregivers, where I'm talking about making space for your creative projects so that they can happen while also you can carry on being busy and taking care of your life and your responsibilities. And my intention is to give you some tips on mindset and energy management concepts that I find particularly helpful, being myself a multi passionate creative mom. So today I want to talk about this thing called creative guilt. You feel guilty for having a dream, for wanting to work on a creative project that's not directly related to your responsibilities. It's not related to your family or your kids or um, whatever your responsibilities are. And what often happens is that this guilt that you're feeling, it stops you from starting your creative project. You don't even start, or you always postpone it. You put it on the back burner. There's always some other duty you need to take care of. And also, this creative guilt, if you do manage to make time for your creative project, you do manage to sit down and to actually make room for it, what happens is that you feel a lack of focus. You feel distracted and you face what we call creative blocks. You feel lots of anxiety and stress. So this guilt inside you, it's a form of creative block. Why? Because it's a big energy leak. It's taking your attention away from your creative project. It's making you put your attention and your energy somewhere else on your responsibilities, something in the future, eh, something that you're planning, again, related to your responsibilities, instead of allowing you to stay in the present moment with your creative work. And in some cases, this guilt takes the form of seriousness. You become so serious about the creative project that you're doing because you want to get it right the first time. You feel stressed by the limited time you have, the limited energy you have, and you put yourself under pressure to um, to be productive, to make it work. So you want your creative session to be productive. You want a perfect end product to come out of it quickly. And you you don't want the time and the effort you're putting on your creative project to go to waste. And this pressure and seriousness really takes the fun and the joy out of it. So you're not longer enjoying the creative process. And this leads to more blocks and to more frustration. And you end up not going anywhere. Um, and then that's when your self doubt starts creeping in, and the self doubt feeds the guilt. So you second guess yourself, and you think that it's not working, and you might feel a little bit resentful. Maybe you secretly blame your responsibilities, and I certainly did that in at the start. Like I started blaming the people I love for my creative blocks, and this blame makes you feel more guilty and even sometimes ashamed, and you get stuck in this cycle. I know this so well because for years I was stuck in this cycle. It's really vicious and it's really depressing. Okay, and that's why I talk about this. I want to talk about this to others. So, what do you do with the guilt? Okay, I'm gonna give you my tips on this. First, let's understand why the guilt is there. You know why the guilt is there? because you care. You care about your responsibilities. You love your family, yeah, you care about them. Congratulations. You're a loving, caring human. Appreciate that guilt because it's telling you, you still have a working moral compass. You still love your responsibilities. Th- Appreciate the guilt, accept it's there and it's here to stay. So please give it a seat at your creative table. It is welcome. And by the way, you have a big table. It's not just the guilt sitting there. There are so many others who are sitting there. There's joy, there's passion, there's excitement. In fact, let's not think of it as a table. Let's think of it as a garden. This inner creative landscape inside you is an abundant garden. And this garden has an element of wildness in it. It has the flowers, but it also has the weeds. It has the birds and the bugs, both the welcome ones and the not so welcome ones. Your emotions are all part of your garden. The negative emotions as well as the positive emotions. They're all there. And your garden needs tending to. So think of guilt as that, maybe wild weed that is growing, a wild flower. It's messing up um, the way that you want your garden, but it's still there, and we still need to look at it. We need to tend it. And um, I personally call on bird spirit medicine whenever I want to add joy into my creative process. Whenever I feel that the guilt is starting to get too heavy. And I like to have parrots in my creative garden. Parrots are so colorful and so alive. And the thing about parrots is that they repeat what you say. So they can really be helpful in self-affirmation. Um, I do want to say that guilt sometimes can be very sneaky. It can be subconscious. Um, so you find yourself, not able to focus, um, and you're having that creative block. Well, inside you are feeling guilty, but you don't know it. So the way to actually know that guilt is there, notice the way you talk to yourself. What words do you tell yourself? And um, for me, I call on parrot spirit animal medicine because parrots just repeat what I am feeling and they amplify the message so I can hear myself. I can hear the self talk that's going on. And when I find myself feeling guilty and really beating myself up, I can see it reflected back in my parrot guide. And so I shift. I shift into excitement. I shift into joy. I remember my passion around my creative project and I give it a voice. And then my parrot guide amplifies the voice of the excitement. You see what I mean? And this excitement that you have for your creative project, this is what I call your calling, your soul's calling. It's the big why behind your creative project. So that's my second tip. Get clear on your big why behind your project, the big WHY, your your motivation, your reason behind it. Why do you do it? Why are you in this creative project that you're doing? Does it give you joy? Does it expand you? When you think about your creative dream coming true, do you feel that your heart just wants to swell up and expand and make you float up in the air? This is why you're doing it. And if it is coming from a genuine place inside you, it is your soul calling. And you know that it makes you happy and fulfilled. And when you are fulfilled, you'll be able to give more to the other people around you. You'll be able to care more. And if you haven't watched series on fulfillment for parents, please do. Now, you don't necessarily need to be a parent, like you can be a caregiver taking care of elderly or taking care of fur babies, but it's the same concept. You're taking care of someone else. You also need to be fulfilled so that you can radiate your um, your joy to the people you are taking care of. Now, you really need to discern if you have reasons behind your creative project that are not coming from a pure place. For example, are you doing it to prove something? Are you fulfilling a promise, an old promise that feels heavy, and a promise to yourself or to someone else? And again, are you attaching it to your self-worth? Are you trying to prove yourself to someone? And you have to untangle from this false ego, uh, this false ego that is part of you who feels unloved, unworthy, who wants to achieve something to compensate for an unfulfilled need. You need to untangle from that false ego and from its motivations. Why? Because if you don't untangle from it, your guilt will always trip you up because you cannot lie to yourself. So be very clear on where your why is coming from. Have that clarity and discernment. You ask yourself, is your creative dream coming from your pure heart? You, don't let it come from a place where you feel that you're not enough, or again, you have to achieve something to prove yourself. Shift into pure intentions and connect back to that passion, to that joy, to that excitement, to that magic inside you. And this requires radical self-honesty because you will find yourself in a place where you really need to make peace with unfinished business and forgive your past self and just let go. And when we let go and when we untangle ourselves from the motivations of the false ego, it's only then that the spark for our creative dream really catches fire. And we go into our pure intentions. It becomes easier for us to trust in the creative spark and to comfort our guilt. So let me recap on what I've talked about so far. So I've given you two tips. Tip number one, accept and appreciate the guilt. And tip number two, get clear on your pure why behind your creative projects. Let me move into tip number three. And here I invite you to have a broader perspective on your life. You know, apart from this creative project that you're working on right now, you are a whole person. What else do you desire in your life? What's the bigger vision for you, for your life, for your family, for the people you're taking care of? And once you have a feel of that bigger vision, shift into the mindset that you can have both at the same time. The bigger vision for your life, as well as your creative dream. You can have them both together at the same time. It doesn't have to be and or. Um, you don't need to sacrifice one for the other. If you're finding it difficult that both of them are not happening at the same time yet, then making them happen is going to require some changes in life. You have to be willing to, first of all, believe that it's possible, and then to make aligned changes in your life. Now, this is another difficult thing that takes radical self-honesty, um, and it requires patience, and it takes time. Changes cannot be done overnight. Like, for example, I'm going to give you my example. There was a time in my life where My kids were a bit younger. I was working a 10-hour day shift at my job. I was back home in the evening, and I wanted to work on my creative project. I was writing a book at the time, and I felt guilty when I took time off, like before dinner time or maybe after dinner. I felt really guilty. Why? Because I knew that I wasn't spending enough time with my kids. I was busy at work all day, and then I wanted to work on my book during my family time. So, of course, I felt guilty. So, I needed to change something in my life so that I can make space for this book that I was writing. And I figured out another way. So, change can happen, but we have to be willing to put some effort into it and to be flexible and find other ways. And it's okay for the change to happen in small steps. It can be very subtle. So this tip, shift your mindset. Instead of seeing your life circumstances and responsibilities as limitations, as obstacles, start seeing them as a kind of structure that is holding you, and become friends with this. Become friends with the limitations. I call it become friends with realism. You embrace the limitations of reality. And what you change is your inner reality. You learn how to master your energy, how to build your capacity. And that's another topic for another day. So I'm going to be talking about this in the future. Also, please watch my previous episode on energy harmony. I talked about creating harmony between your masculine energy and your feminine energy, calling upon the warrior of light and your flow. So, to be friends with realism, you need to call on your inner warrior of light. You need to, um, fight with love for your creative project. You remember your vision, you remain intentional, you get organized, you plan your day, and you take care of yourself. You do the work step by step, and that's what it takes, small steps. And one last tip, before we end here, sometimes the other person that you're taking care of, sometimes they don't need your attention all the time. Well, unless you have a newborn or a tiny toddler. In that case, please give yourself some grace. I know. And that period of time really passes so quickly. But when your kids are older, or when you are taking care of elderly parents, or whatever your responsibility is, sometimes they don't need your attention 24/7. They're actually good to do their own thing. So give them back their power, that they are capable of entertaining themselves. Um, and give them that space. They sometimes they don't need all your attention. So don't feel guilty that you're actually not there. So I have so much more to say about this, but I'll end it here for today. And I invite you to reflect on what I've said and take in the things that resonated with you. And maybe, like me, you feel drawn to bird spirit medicine, maybe to parrot spirit medicine. And imagine your creative garden. If you had a parrot and it's repeating what you tell yourself, what do you want it to repeat? This self-talk that you talk with yourself. If you're saying, "Oh, I feel guilty, I feel angry, this is not working." Now imagine the parrot, like a megaphone amplifying that message for you. Do you want that? Or would you rather have it say something more empowering, like, "I'm doing the best that I can right now. I'm excited about my creative project. I can make it happen with everything. I don't mind taking much time. I don't mind taking small steps." So add that play and joy. Let the message around you Let the parrot around you repeat a more positive message. And just consider one tiny thing you want to start changing right now. Thank you for listening. I'm Nadine, the Teen Soul Coach. I'll see you next time.